Hi, welcome back to my channel, class. I just want to go over another problem for your Friday assignment in your iReady books. Okay, you are working on page 90, and I want to read one of the problems on page 90, but I'm going to be changing the actual numerical data because I want to give you an example problem similar to your problem, but not the exact same one, because I want you to be able to work it on your own after using this model that I'm doing for you today. Okay, so I'm going to read the problem, and as I read, of course, I have taught you all year that when you have scrap paper, you want to make sure that you're working out your problem as you get numerical data. You write it down to keep up your notes, what exactly is going into this math problem that you're working with, okay? So the first step we're going to do, we're going to read, and as we hear data, we're going to write it out, okay? Okay, so remember, we're working on page 90, number 2. And I'm changing the numerical numbers to create a similar problem, but not the exact same one, because I want you to work out yours. Okay, so number 2, Keith bought 3.4 pounds. So I'm changing 3.4 to 5.2. Okay, so Keith bought 5.2 pounds of peanuts on Monday. Okay, so I'm going to pause there because now I have some numerical data. First of all, it's Monday. Second of all, I said 5.2 pounds. So we're going to go ahead and keep our little notes on the side. So Monday, and we're going to put 5.2 pounds. Okay, 5.2. You can stop right there. You don't have to write out the pounds. We know it's peanuts because that's what the problem's talking about. So Monday, 5.2. We're going to keep reading. Okay, the next part states 2.5 pounds on Tuesday, but I'm changing that, and we're now going to put in 3.3 for my problem. So 3.3 pounds on Tuesday. Okay, so that's some more data that we need to make sure we put in our notes. So we're going to write Tuesday, and that's 3.3 pounds of peanuts. Okay, I'm going to continue reading. And 4 pounds on Wednesday. But Miss Castillo is going to change that to 3 pounds. So instead of 4, it's going to be 3 pounds on Wednesday. Okay, so I'm going to write Wednesday, and that's going to be 3 pounds. Okay, let's keep reading our problem. Okay, so the next part states he is going to divide the peanuts equally between himself and 2 friends. Okay, I'm going to change that for my new problem that I'm creating. So it's going to be himself and 3 friends. So himself is 1 person, and then 3 additional friends. That makes 4 people. Okay, so I'm going to write that up here in our notes. So we have now 4 people. Okay, so there's 2 parts to this problem, so let's keep reading and see what they're looking for, okay? So he's going to divide the peanuts equally between himself and, we said 3 people, or 3 friends. How many pounds of peanuts will each friend get? Okay, so Keith bought all these peanuts on different days of the week. And once he has all of his peanuts, he's going to share them equally between him and his 3 friends. That's 4 people. So to begin with, we have 2 steps in this problem. We have to determine first how much or how many pounds of peanuts does he have altogether. And altogether is a key word for addition. So we're going to have to add up all the peanuts first and then determine what our next step is. So first of all, let's go ahead and add these amounts up. So looking at our place value system, we have a decimal place here, here, and here. And I purposely lined them up as I was adding my data into my board or on my scrap paper. Okay, so if they're all lined up and there's no empty spaces, for example, sometimes you need a placeholder. But in this case, we don't need one. Okay, we've already added one here. This was our placeholder. But Miss Castillo, as I wrote out my notes, I added that placeholder in for you. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add up our tenths place first, and then we'll move over to our ones place value. Okay, 2 plus 3 and 0 make 5. Your decimal drops straight down, and then we're going to add up 5, 3, and 3. Well, 3 plus 3 is 6, and 6 plus 5 is 11. So now we have determined that we have 11 and 5/10 of a pound of peanuts, which is basically 11 and a half pounds. Now we have 4 people. 4. So what is our next step? Okay, he wants to know how much each one of them will equally receive from the total amount of peanuts. If you said division, you are right. So we're going to go ahead and set up our division problem. So you're going to have inside will be your 11.5. And actually, we're going to need some space on this problem. So I'm going to go ahead and move it up higher on the board. Okay, so start up here. 11.5 is inside. And then outside is the 4 people, because that is your divisor. The divisor is the 4, and your dividend is 11.5 pounds of peanuts. Okay, so we're going to start out with 1 inside on our dividend. Okay, out of the 1, just 1, how many groups of 4 can you get? If you said 0, you would be correct. So I'm going to go ahead and add our 0 right above the 1. Okay, now I'm going to extend this over. We now have 11. Okay, out of 11, how many groups of 4? And think about your multiplication table of 4. Your 4s. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 4 times 3 would be 12. So we can't do 12, but we can do 8. So that's 2 groups of 4. So we'll go ahead and write 2 above that 1, because that's our next digit we were working on. And now you're going to up under, I'm going to make sure I make that clear enough for you in the video. That's a 0 and that's a 2. And now we're going to subtract 8. The reason why we're subtracting 8 is because 4 times 2 gave us 8. So now we're going to subtract 8 from 11, and you'll be left with 3. Okay, now we have 1 digit remaining, which is the 5. We need to go ahead and pull it down, and this will become 35. Okay, leave the decimal for now. We'll talk about that when we get our full quotient answer. Okay, for right now we're working on just the numerical data, so just leave the decimal and we'll worry about it in a moment. Okay, now looking at the 35. Okay, how many groups of 4 can you get out of 35? Okay, so let's think about that for a second. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20. And you can keep going on. Okay, 4 times 6 is 24. 4 times 7 is 28. Okay, 4 times 8 is 32. Now, if I keep going on, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go over 35. So we stopped at 8. Okay, it's because 4 times 8 is 32. We're going to go ahead and use 8 in our quotient above and subtract the 32 down from our dividend. Okay, so up top is going to go our 8, because 8 times 4 will give us 32. We're subtracting a 32 from 35. Now, 35 take away 32, we know, easy math, that's going to be 3. Okay? Now, we don't have any other numbers over here on the side, and we're left with the remainder. And Miss Castillo just explained to you in the last video I did, you want to make sure when you're working with decimal division that you don't have a remainder unless it's infinite numbers. Okay? If your numbers are infinite in your quotient, then you can stop. But if you don't have infinite numbers, 3 of the same numbers in your quotient, side by side, you want to make sure to keep adding a 0 until we get our either 0 or infinite numbers, okay? So we want to make sure we're going to go ahead and use red, and this is going to signify our zeros that we're adding on and the steps that we're taking next. Okay, so 0, and we're going to drop down and we're going to add it. So now we have 30. Now, we just went through the multiplication table of 4, and we determined that 4 times 7 was 28. So we're going to go ahead and use 4 times 7. Our 7 will go with our quotient, and the 28 will subtract here. Okay, so 7 up top, above that 0, and then we're going to subtract 28. Now, 30 take away 28 gives us 2. Now, we still have a remainder, and we need to determine what's our next step. Our next step is to add another 0. And like I said, with decimal division, you can keep adding zeros until you either don't have a remainder or your numbers up top in your quotient are infinite, meaning 3 of the same digits in a row. Okay? So we're going to add a 0. Right? Now, 4 and 20. When we went through the multiplication table of 4s, we determined 4 times 5 was 20. So we're going to go ahead and use 5 up top in our quotient, above that 0 that we added, okay? And down below, we're going to take that 20 away. And now we're left with a remainder of 0. That's exactly where we want to be. And now, looking up at our quotient, now is the time we're going to determine where our decimal goes, okay? And if you remember in our last video, I told you your decimal goes straight up. As long as you keep these numbers in line, exactly above as you're working them out, your decimal will be in the correct location. So our decimal goes right there between the 2 and the 8. So our final answer for this problem is 2 and 875 thousandths, because that 5 ends in your thousandths place value. So that's how you work out decimal division. And guys, please make sure, look at my first video and this one, and if you still have problems, let me know. Thank you and have a great day.